You've probably seen the small one, the thin, dark thread of legs that pours out from behind the bathroom baseboard near midnight. Too fast to follow. Gone behind the mirror before your hand finds the light switch. You flinched. Almost everyone does. There is a chance you killed it. Most people do. But that little thing in your bathroom has a cousin. And deep in a rainforest, someone is about to step down a few inches from it. The man stops mid-step. Not because of a snake, though there are snakes in this forest. He stops because the thing crossing the leaf litter in front of his boot is the length of a human forearm, plated in dark armor, moving on more legs than the eye can count in the half-second it's lit by his headlamp. And it is dragging something his mind refuses to file correctly. A bat. A full-grown bat, wings folded wrong, still moving. Every instinct he has says this is the most dangerous thing on the forest floor and that the safest thing in the world would be to end it. That instinct is wrong. Not because the animal is harmless, it isn't, but because of what it is actually hunting out here in the dark and what happens to everything around it the moment it's gone. Today, we are going to follow this animal. We are going to look at who it is, what it does in the hours you are asleep, and why the people who know this forest best, the ones who have every reason to fear it, have learned to step around it instead of on it. And by the end, I think the small one in your bathroom is going to look very different to you too. Let's start with who she is. The animal in front of the boot is the Amazonian giant centipede, known scientifically as Scolopendra gigantea, the largest centipede on Earth. She can grow to a foot in length, dark and plated in armor. The smaller, faster creature in your home is a different species, the house centipede, Scutigera coleoptrata. But they are built on the same ancient blueprint, and they are doing the same quiet job, but at wildly different scales. One does it in your walls. This one does it on the floor of the rainforest. And here is the first thing to understand, because almost everyone gets this backwards. She is not hunting you. She has no interest in you at all. To an animal this size, you are not prey, and you are not food. You are weather. A vast, warm presence she would strongly prefer to move away from. The speed that frightens people, in the giant one and in the little one in your bathroom, is almost always the same thing. Not an attack, but an exit. When that thread of legs races across your wall, it is running from you, not toward you. What she is built for, every inch of her, is the hunt. And to understand the hunt, you have to look at the legs everyone is so desperate to get away from. She has them in pairs, one pair to a body segment. And here is a small, strange fact that almost no one knows. No centipede that has ever lived has had exactly 100 legs. It is not allowed. The number of leg-bearing segments is always an odd number. 15 pairs, 21. In rare cases, as many as 191. 100 legs would mean 50 pairs, an even count, and their bodies simply do not develop that way. The single most famous fact about the centipede, the number folded into its name, is impossible. Those legs are not there to unsettle you. They make her one of the fastest, most precise hunters in her world. She runs across the forest floor, up vertical trunks, along the undersides of branches without slowing. She can reverse direction mid-stride, and the legs are disposable on purpose. Grab her, and she can shed a few to break your grip and escape, then grow them back over her next several molts, which is why a wild one sometimes carries 2 or 3 legs noticeably shorter than the rest. The very limbs you'd grab to stop her are designed to come away in your hand and leave you holding nothing. The legs at her other end run a quieter trick. The last pair is longer than the rest, swept backward, and on many centipedes they are shaped to echo the antennae at the head. A false face at the wrong end of the body. A predator that strikes for what looks like her head closes on empty armor, while the real head curls around to answer. Some kinds can even rasp those back legs together into a thin, dry hiss of warning. She has built a decoy out of her own hindquarters. Now look at the front of her, because the front is a deception too. Those 2 curved hooks beneath her head, the ones that look exactly like fangs. They are not fangs. They are not even mouth parts. They are a pair of legs, the first pair of walking legs her ancestors ever had, reshaped across hundreds of millions of years into claws that grip and inject at the same moment. She does not bite her prey. She seizes it with modified feet and drives venom in through them. When she catches something, she does not chase it down and wear it out. She folds those long legs around the body so there is nowhere left to go, presses the claws in, and delivers the venom directly. The struggling stops. She feeds without hurry. And the reason that Bat ended up on the forest floor in front of him is the part that turned this animal from a curiosity into a scientific event. For most of human history, no one had recorded what was filmed in a Venezuelan cave and finally written up in 2005. Researchers watched giant centipedes climb the cave walls, anchor themselves to the ceiling with their rear legs, and hang down into open air. And from there, in total darkness, take bats. 3 different species of them. Some they plucked from the air as the bats flew past. Others they took straight off the wall where the colony hung sleeping. They hunted prey heavier than their own bodies while gripping bare rock with a fraction of themselves. Think about what that means for a bat. The roost is the one place a bat is supposed to be safe, up high in the dark. Behind a wall, nothing should be able to climb. She turned the safest place in the bat's world into the place it gets hunted. She didn't just learn to climb. She learned to wait upside down in the one spot her prey had stopped watching, and she does it nearly blind. For all her precision, the giant centipede sees almost nothing. Her eyes read little more than the difference between light and dark. She hunts the way the deep dark demands, by touch and by tremor. Her antennae and her long legs catch the faintest stir of air and the smallest vibration running through rock and leaf litter, assembling the world out of movement instead of light. A bat in that cave never had to be seen, it only had to move. And that brings us to the thing this whole story has been circling, the reason the people who share this forest with her leave her alone, because of what she hunts. The menu of the giant centipede reads like a list of everything a human being is wired to fear. She takes tarantulas, runs them down, folds them up, and feeds. She takes scorpions, stinger and all. She takes venomous spiders out of the crevices they hide in. And she takes snakes, not only swallows them, hunts them. There is a record not of this exact species, but of a close cousin from the same family that ought to change the way you think about this animal forever. Researchers found a young venomous snake lying dead in the open, and something was wrong with the shape of its body. A centipede's head was pushing out through the snake's side from the inside. They reconstructed what had happened, and it is one of the strangest things in the scientific literature. The snake had hunted the centipede and swallowed it whole. The centipede was nearly as long as the snake and heavier. And somewhere on the way down, it had begun to cut its way back out, working through the snake from within toward open air. Both animals died in the act. The snake's venom caught up with the centipede a moment too late. The researchers noted plainly that it is very hard to kill a full-grown centipede of this kind, and they could not rule out the possibility that the snake had swallowed it alive and the centipede had nearly carved its way to freedom. The thing the man almost stepped on is the animal that hunts the snakes. In the dark, on the floor of a forest, where the genuinely dangerous things live, the venom, the fangs, the stingers, she is one of the few hunters that walks straight toward them and wins. Remove her, and you have not removed a danger. You have removed the predator that was keeping the more dangerous things in check. That is the something worse. It was never her. And the weapon she does it with is, all by itself, one of the most remarkable things ever found inside a living animal. For years, no one could explain a simple number. A centipede weighing about 3 grams, roughly the weight of a single grape, can subdue a mouse 15 times its own mass, and do it in about 30 seconds. There's no muscle on a grape-sized animal that explains that. The answer, isolated by scientists in 2018, was a single molecule in the venom. They named it the spooky toxin. Your body runs on a quiet electrical system. Tiny gates in the walls of your cells, a whole family of them called the KCNQ channels. opening and closing thousands of times a second to keep your heart beating, your lungs moving, your nerves firing, your muscles able to relax. You have never once thought about them. The spooky toxin jams that families shut across all of those systems at once. The prey doesn't fight back because in the space of a breath, there is no system left intact to fight with. Here is what should genuinely stop you. That same venom should kill the centipede that makes it. She runs on the very channels her poison shuts down. By every rule of chemistry, brewing this weapon inside her own body should be fatal. It isn't. Because in the one tissue that produces the venom and nowhere else, she builds a slightly altered version of her own channel, with the exact spot the toxin grabs onto quietly walled off. She carries a weapon pointed at every nervous system on Earth, including her own, and evolved a single localized firewall so she could survive holding it. And we have begun to learn that same trick. Researchers have found that a molecule already known to medicine can pry those jammed gates back open and lift the venom's hold, at least in the laboratory. The most efficient off switch in the animal world and the first faint idea of how to turn it back off. None of this is new. This is a very old design. The venom apparatus of the centipede, the glands, the leg claws, the chemistry is one of the oldest of its kind on the planet, reaching back something like 430 million years before spiders or scorpions carried venom of their own. She was perfecting this before there were dinosaurs to ignore her. And that ancient chemistry has quietly become one of the most valuable libraries in modern medicine. One peptide pulled from centipede venom locks onto the exact nerve receptor that fires when you bite into a chili pepper. The body's heat and pain switch. Researchers are now mining this venom for painkillers that might not be addictive, for compounds that go after cancer cells. The animal you would flick off a wall may be carrying the blueprint for a medicine that doesn't yet exist. There is one more thing about her, and it is the part that catches people off guard, because it is tender. For an animal this completely built to kill, the giant centipede is a devoted mother. When she lays her eggs, she does not leave them. She wraps her entire long body around the clutch in a tight coil and stays there for weeks, barely eating. In the warm, damp dark where she nests, the real threat to eggs is not a predator. It is mold, which can rot a clutch in days. So she cleans them continuously. She passes them through her mouth parts over and over to keep the spores from taking hold. She does not hunt the entire time and comes out of those weeks thin and depleted, a slow, patient, around-the-clock vigil kept by the same kind of animal we just watched carve its way out of a snake from the inside. And then, in the rare cases biologists have actually witnessed it, the forest's hard arithmetic takes over. The young hatch and stay close, clustered against her. And at a certain point, the cluster begins to feed on her. They consume the mother who guarded them and go out into the dark already fed. It is not cruelty. There is no cruelty out here. It is only the forest spending everything, including her, on the next generation of hunters. Tenderness and the hardest economy there is, living in the same animal. So what does any of this have to do with the little one in your bathroom? Everything. Because the house centipede behind your baseboard is running the same program at a scale that fits in your home, and pointed at the things you least want sharing it. She hunts cockroaches, and the egg case is too small for any trap to catch. She hunts silverfish, the insects that eat the glue in your books and the starch in your clothes. She hunts ants, carpet beetles, the spiders building webs in your corners. She lives her entire life indoors, born in your walls, hunting in your walls, never coming in from outside because she was never outside to begin with. She is not an infestation. She is a resident, and she has been quietly holding down the pest balance of your home for longer than you knew she was there. Her venom is real because it has to be to settle a cockroach. But the claws that deliver it were built for bodies far smaller than yours. They can rarely even break human skin. And on the rare occasion one does, it fades like a mild sting within hours. To her, the same as to her giant cousin in the rainforest. You are not prey, you are weather. So here is what to actually do the next time that thread of legs crosses your wall. Take 1 second before you reach for anything. If it's a single one passing through, the most useful thing you can do is let it be. It is working spaces you cannot reach on things you would much rather not meet yourself. And if you genuinely cannot leave it there, a glass and a piece of card will carry it outside without harm and without your ever having to get closer than you'd like. And if you are seeing several of them, more than you ever used to, that is worth knowing for a different reason. A house centipede stays where there is food. A wall with many of them is a wall with enough hidden prey to feed many of them. Silverfish, roaches, something quieter, living behind the plaster in numbers you haven't seen. She isn't the problem in that house. She is the sign of one. The messenger arriving before you've noticed anything is wrong. Kill the messenger and the message doesn't change. It just goes unread. The creature on your wall is not a monster. It is not a problem. It is the smaller, gentler echo of one of the oldest and most precise hunters the planet has ever produced. A thing that walks toward the dangerous and keeps it in check quietly, in the dark, asking nothing from you in return. Out in the rainforest, the man finally lifts his boot, steps wide around her, and lets her pass. She vanishes into the leaf litter with the bat, back into the dark she came from, back to the work she was doing, long before anyone was here to be afraid of her.